From Qualcomm Stadium here in America's finest city of San Diego, it's continuing coverage of the Tournament of Nations, and Australia and Japan getting set to kick things off. Another double header for you as it's match day 2 in the inaugural Tournament of Nations here in 2017. Of course, the U.S. women's national team and Brazil, the headline act coming up later. But these two teams have plenty to play for, and they've put themselves in a pretty good position so far after their opening matches just a couple of days ago up in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. I mentioned the 1-0 win for the Matildas getting past the U.S. It was a 1-1 result for Japan against Brazil. So all four teams, in fact, still very much alive here in the first edition of this Tournament of Nations. Mark Rogandino here with you, along with the rest of our crew, in a gorgeous afternoon setting here in Southern California. Qualcomm Stadium, maybe a long corner kick from the coast and the Pacific Ocean. Fans will be filing their way in throughout the course of the afternoon. As we get ready for the nightcap coming your way later, that one will be Ian Dark and Julie Foudy on the call. But we focus the attention on these two teams as they get set to make their way from underneath the stands and take to the pitch here inside of Qualcomm Stadium. It's a rubber match, really, if you look at it, and I say that because Australia was knocked out of the quarterfinals of the 2015 World Cup by Japan in an 87th minute winner from Mana Iwabuchi, but then got a little bit of revenge in terms of getting into the Olympics in 2016 because they beat and knocked out Japan, and thus Japan did not make their way to Rio this past summer. So you could call it the rubber match as they meet now for the third time in about the last 2.5 years on the calendar. Both teams have already made their way out on the field to get some good pregame warm-ups in. And now some of the substitutes starting to emerge as you see the starting 11s for both teams ready to walk out onto the pitch. Asako Takakura, the 49-year-old coach of Japan, becoming one of the first ever female coaches on the senior national team level as she replaced longtime coach Nori Sasaki back in late April. And she had to be feeling pretty good with what she did against Brazil. It was a little bit of a rocky start against Brazil, and actually both teams had some troubles defensively. But to get a 1-1 result, maybe a little bit of disappointment with Camila coming in with the late equalizer to at least salvage a point for the Brazilian women national team. We'll see how Japan responds. And when we get to the lineups in a bit, plenty of changes coming for Japan on this afternoon as well. And as for Australia, 27 matches they had gone without beating the U.S. women's national team, and a 67th minute strike from Tamika Butt was the difference. Yes, the U.S. had a ton of chances to try and pull level, if not go after the win in the game up inside CenturyLink. It all lays out for a pretty good matchup in this one, and a nice reception for both of these nations as they make their way out onto the field.
National team of Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats for the playing of the national anthem of Japan, to be followed by the playing of the national anthem of Australia.
The customary handshake before they really turn themselves to serious business. You see Katja Koroleva, she will be at the center of things. She was actually the 4th official up in Seattle for the 1-1 result between Brazil and Japan, but she will be at the center, the heart of things, if you will, on the afternoon here in Southern California. You might say it's two teams somewhat heading in different directions. Australia have really made their way climbing the FIFA World Rankings, and as for Japan, you might say that they're in a little bit of a rebuilding mode. Let's go to the starting 11 here for Osako Takakura, and plenty of changes, including in goal as Sakiko Ikeda comes in to replace Ayaka Yamashita. Yamashita made some big saves in the middle of the game against Brazil, but it's that same tandem up top in Kumi Yokoyama and Mina Tanaka. Both of them were very dangerous in the attack. They did not get their name in on the scoring sheet, but they certainly caused lots of trouble for the Brazilian defense. We'll see if that's the same for Australia today. And here's the starting lineup in a 4-3-3 formation. Also a couple of changes, including at the goalkeeping position, as Mackenzie Arnold, the 29-year-old of the Brisbane Roar FC, comes into the starting lineup to replace Lydia Williams. Maybe a little bit surprising, because I thought Williams had a really good game, made some big saves, and remember, it was Williams who wore the captain's band against the U.S. women's national team. Up top, of course, you always keep your eyes on the number 20. That is Sam Kerr, the 23-year-old, having a standout season for Sky Blue FC in the NWSL. Did not score in the 1-0 win, but you have a feeling she might find a way to get her name on the scoring summary this afternoon. Again, you saw our officials, Katja Koroleva, Felicia Mariscal, Catherine Nesbitt, and our 4th official, Karen Apt, who was actually the lead official for the opening game of the tournament up there inside of CenturyLink. Over on the Australian bench, Alan Stacic, the 43-year-old, raised in Australia, and a highly successful youth coach who was named as the head coach of the senior national team in 2014. Also a 2-time W League Coach of the Year during his time at the club level with Sydney FC. He single-handedly has really raised the stakes for the Matildas. I mentioned them getting into the Olympics this past summer in 2016. It was the first time they competed in the Olympic Games in 12 years, and many credit their head coach with guiding them to that height. We're set to kick this one off here inside the Q, Qualcomm Stadium. We're about 15-20 minutes east of downtown San Diego, but still a perfect climate. Maybe temperatures hovering in the high 70s here at this time in the afternoon, just after 2 p.m. local time. And it looks like it's going to be Australia who will get things going with the first touch. There is Sam Kerr making her way to the center circle to get things started. So we await the whistle from Katja Koroleva, and there it is. We're underway. Match day 2 in the inaugural edition of the Tournament of Nations. 4 teams inside the top 8 in the FIFA World Rankings, including these two separated by just 1 spot. Number 6, Japan, and number 7, Australia. That's always good for Mackenzie Arnold. An early touch for the goalkeeper as she gets an opportunity to step in. Cap number 13 for the 29-year-old netminder. You have to think that Australia is going to be brimming with confidence after the 1-0 win this past Thursday against the U.S. women's national team. Missed clearance out the back. See if Australia can step on it and maybe create an opportunity in onto the far side. And an early chance, and it'll go just wide. Oh, a golden look on the back post there for Australia. And maybe was it nicked in on the way? I think it's going to be the first corner. It was Emily van Egmond making the attacking run. And it all starts because of this missed clearance from the back by Ikeda. And the parting of the dark jerseys there to get it for van Egmond on the back post. And she cannot convert. It was touched. So first corner of the afternoon goes to the Matildas. KK, Elise Kellam-Knight over there to serve it in, bending it in with the left foot onto the back post, headed down in front. And a little bit of a dangerous left-footed swipe by Claire Polkinghorn, who seemed to be the intended target right there at the edge of the 6. Polkinghorn did not play against the U.S. And the former Portland Thorns FC defender got the opportunity to step in the starting lineup, replacing Ellie Carpenter here this afternoon in the second match of the competition. Australia win the first ball. Now looking to settle in with possession. Here's Catley. She gets the opportunity to wear the captain's band today with Lydia Williams on the bench. Alana Kennedy. You will see Japan disciplined on both sides of the ball. When they have the ball, you'll see many times where players make runs, and you'll almost see a blind pass at times because the player with the ball knows that their teammate should be making said run, and usually the ball played into space is well timed. But also defensively for Japan, they keep their shape really compact, make sure they slide from side to side. So Australia will have their work cut out for them. Sumida trying to serve it in from a wide spot. Australia has some numbers to win it back. Ball intended up top for Kerr. Out of her reach, and Japan step back in for possession. Well, just as I said, knowing to play the ball into space because your teammate's going to be there. Nobody there for Japan as Catley runs it down, and both teams reset their shape. Oftentimes against Brazil, we saw Japan do this. Once the ball was in firm possession for the opponent, in that case Brazil, and now today for Australia, they would settle back into their shape and allow Brazil, or in this case today Australia, to make their way toward midfield, and that's when they would really step up their pressure. Let's see what they do in the early minutes here today. Swung out wide here for Australia. A couple of quick touches. Kerr with her back to goal, and that one will skip back into the gloves of Sakiko Ikeda, one of 4 players for Japan, who applies her club trade for Urawa Red Diamonds, one of the premier teams in Japan. And for this Japanese national team, all but 2 players played domestically, and that's in complete contrast to what you see for Australia, where yes, they have players playing in the W League down under, but a number of players in Germany, Norway, and of course here in the States for the NWSL. Touches across the back. Sakamoto under a little bit of pressure. Garzo trying to pressure the ball at the back, and why wouldn't you after you saw the early giveaway from Ikeda? Haley Razzo steps up to put it back in play. Razzo came on as a second half substitute for Lisa DeVanna in the first game against the U.S. Clumsy at the back, and a chance here for Japan. Tanaka cutting it back onto her left foot, and a big save there from Mackenzie Arnold. Great early test for the Australian keeper, and she comes up big. Not exactly sure what Alana Kennedy was doing. You see the ball get caught underneath her feet. Mina Tanaka with a great chance here. Even took the extra touch to put it on her left foot for a moment. I would almost like to see her let that one fly in the early going when she is one-on-one with Mackenzie Arnold. Arnold did a good job to close the space. All the way in toward the back post, and Tanaka will get her goal. Not as clear-cut of a chance, but it counts either way, and just as Japan did against Brazil, they strike first, but here they strike early. In the 6th minute, Mina Tanaka with her 3rd ever goal in a Japanese shirt. Great little flick at the near post from Nana Echise. She's the youngest, right there, she's the youngest player on the field for both teams. 19 years of age. I don't know, maybe on the second replay, maybe Tanaka didn't know much about it, but she'll claim it just the same. Picking up her 15th cap today and her 3rd goal at the senior national team level. I told you when we looked at the lineups, Tanaka and Yokohama both had great chances against Brazil. In fact, Tanaka had a couple of those one-on-one opportunities we saw her miss a moment ago. She tallies her 1st goal of the 2017 Tournament of Nations. A lot of soccer to be played, but it just shows you sometimes how it can be a cruel game. It looked like in the opening 5 minutes, Australia had better possession and had a couple of golden chances in front of the Japanese net, unable to finish. And really the first of 2 chances coming back the other way for Japan. And it's the Nadeshiko who take a 1-0 lead. Here is Kennedy. Lancing header there from Kellen Knight to try and push it forward. Sumida trying to spray it out wide. Good step in here. Australia, can they find a swift response? In for Kerr. Flag comes up. Looked like she bent her run just enough to keep the flag down. But from my angle, you could see the AR on the far side there was in clear position. Let's see if we can take a look at it here. And watch Kerr. See how she bends her run right there? But yep, it's the right call. Just as that ball is played. She's about a step too far in behind the last defender for Japan. Sam Kerr with 11 goals so far for Sky Blue FC in the NWSL season. Picking up cap number 52 today for the 23-year-old. This is somewhat a look at the discipline that I was telling you about for Japan. So with Australia having the ball back there, they're very happy, especially now with a 1-goal lead, to sag back into a defensive posture, make sure they have 2 good lines of 4 to make it difficult for Australia to break them down. Van Egmond steps on the ball, wins it and sends it forward. Lagarzo can't find the feet of Sam Kerr up top. Bending ball sent into the bench of Australia and out for a throw for Steph Catley. When you think about it, what a contrast in 2 games for Australia as well. And I say that because they held their own against the U.S. women's national team, but they were under the gun, especially in the second half. Is it human nature maybe to have a little bit of a letdown when you play Japan, a team that you had gotten the better of in the last calendar year? Thinking, wow, we beat the toughest team we're probably going to face in this tournament. And now they find themselves down a goal in the opening 10 minutes. Excellent ball over the top and a well-timed run from Razzo in a wide position. Kerr all by herself in front, and it's 1-1. You had to think you weren't going to hold her down for long. I had just detailed she had been scoring goals at a great pace in NWSL, and now she tallies her 9th goal for the Matildas and brings this game level at 1-1. Great ball over the top. That's what springs the attack. And Kerr busting it to get to the penalty spot to make that run, make sure she stays on side, and in the end, it's a clinical finish. Good work from Razzo. Laid it on a silver platter for her teammate, and we're off to a great start here in San Diego. So after Japan take a 1-0 lead, Australia come right back, and a little bit of adversity for both sides here in the opening quarter of an hour. Big ball to the far side to spring things open. Nakasato, one of several changes along the midfield for Japan this afternoon. Trying to play up and over the top for Yokoyama. And now here's Alana Kennedy. And Eggman checking back. Razo, the space immediately closed there from Kitagawa, but able to regain it. Japan now looking for the counter chance. Good early ball and a good hold up out top near midfield. Now into the space. Naomoto. Looking at some of the numbers coming into today, you had to wonder maybe where some of the goal scoring punch would come for Japan. And I say that because the number 9, Kumi Yokoyama, is the only player in double figures in scoring. In some space here for Nakajima. Looking to play it out top. Nakasoto. And a whistle will give Australia a free kick. Let's go back and take one more look at that goal just moments ago here for Australia. And perfectly timed on the run. Sam Kerr. She'll take those all day. Not really having to beat anyone. It's more just about her getting to a spot and then executing once that ball comes across the face of goal. I think I did say something about she's going to get her name on the scoring summary today when we look at the starting lineups. Just saying. Fourteenth minute of play. Australia has already found some good freedom down that right side. Here's Kerr again, trying to lay it back out top. Yes, she can play provider as well. Nakajima. 4 versus 3, looking for the ambitious long distance effort. And actually, as I glance over and look at Mackenzie Arnold's positioning, why not? She was well outside of her 6. Nakajima getting the opportunity to wear the captain's armband today. Remember, she was the player that came out in the second half and was replaced by Yuka Momiki, who scored the first goal of the tournament and put Japan up 1-0, only to see Brazil equalize late through Camila. Kerr. Excellent hold up, trying to lay it into the feet of Lagarzo. And vicious there from the 26-year-old Elise Kellen-Knight. And that's part of the reason she's whistled for that challenge against Mina Tanaka. Here's Kerr, getting in behind Japanese. Back 4, and she's got a brace. Right on the stroke of the opening quarter of an hour. You cannot give a top-notch goal scorer like this opportunities. She will make you pay, and that's exactly what she did. Sakamoto late to get it off her feet, and Kerr just does the rest. You got to feel for Sakiko Ikeda, the Japanese keeper, just left hung out to dry. So Kerr with her second of the afternoon already, spaced about 5 minutes apart. I have to be honest, I was really surprised when the starting lineups came out and Sakiko Ikeda was put in goal, because I thought that Ayaka Yamashita really made some big plays to help preserve the 1-1 draw against Brazil. She did have a little bit of trouble a couple of times playing out of the back with her feet, but came away unscathed on those opportunities, and clearly Japan does not come away unscathed on the giveaway there by Riho Sakamoto. Good response for the Matildas after going down in the opening 5.5 minutes. Thanks to Sam Kerr coming right back with a couple of tallies to make it 2-1 Australia. Good exchange, flag stays down here. And Yokoyama calling her own number. Didn't really have the greatest angle there. And she's the only player on this Japanese roster that plays in Germany. Plays for Frankfurt. And as I was alluding to, she's the only player also double digits in scoring in the starting lineup for Japan today. The other big surprise for me was Mizuo Sakaguchi, who was the most capped player on the side for Japan. She wears the number 10, and she pulled the strings in most of the attacking sequences on Thursday up in Seattle against Brazil. Australia regained possession right in front of their own bench. Into the space. A deep lying run coming there from Emily Van Egmond. Off to a great start so far here in almost 18 minutes. Mina Tanaka with her 3rd career goal in a Japanese shirt and her first of the Tournament of Nations to give a 1-0 lead. But Sam Kerr said, I'll put this team on my back. She comes right back with her 9th and 10th international goals. And Australia with a good response. We often talk about responses when a team goes down. And I'm sure that Australia feeling much better about themselves and confidence-wise, right back where they were after they walked away with a 1-0 win against the U.S. back on Thursday. And now the onus of pressure falls on the shoulder of this Japanese national team. How do they respond now that they've gone down? First time they have trailed in the tournament so far. Up and over the top. Surging run from Kitagawa. Polkinghorne to slide over and push it out of play. Nakasoto with the throw. Nope, she'll leave it there for Kitagawa. Yokoyama tripped up, but able to get back up onto her feet. Kerr working against 2 Japanese defenders. Waits for some reinforcements. Almost a precision pass in a really tight window to spring the attacking run forward for Lagarzo. Tanaka. And a push brings about a whistle and a free kick near the center stripe here for Japan. "20 minutes gone here in the first half inside Qualcomm Stadium, with Australia leading 2-1. Lofted ball forward. Looking for Nakajima. Yokoyama is there as well. And eventually cleared by Chloe Lagarzo. Plenty of space as Nakasato retrieves it here for Japan. Chance to swing one in, a couple of numbers inside the area. That one deflects. Polkinghorne heads it away initially. All the way through the back here for Ichise. And up top for Yokoyama. Even though she didn't score in the game against Brazil, for me, she was probably the most intelligent player on the field. And for Japan, that is. There was a world-class player by the name of Marta for Brazil you may have heard of. Plenty of space here on this near side, and Japan looked to exploit it. Sakamoto into the feet of Tagagi. Under a little pressure here for Kat Lee, plays back for Alana Kennedy. And first time up top in front of the Australian bench here for Kerr. Yeah, a little push in the back after Kerr released it away. I'm okay with that though. Riho Sakamoto saying, yep, I'm going to be with you all afternoon long. I'm going to do my best to try and not let you get that hat trick here today in San Diego. Saw the shot there of Australian head coach Alan Stajic up in the edge of his technical area. Now back down on the bench. Polkinghorne steps in to win it back for the Matildas. A little more high pressure defending there in the midfield from Yokoyama. Chance to swing the ball into the near side. Will this one check up? It will not. Just out of the reach of Steph Catley. You can see at times here in the first half, Australia really want to get their outside backs involved. So you're seeing some of the midfielders tuck in to create that space out on the flanks to allow Catley in that instance to push up. And thus that big ball to swing it from side to side is on. Kitagawa making the attacking run. Polkinghorne sends it out for a Japanese throw. Little tug of the shirt there from Emily Gilnick. She too was a second half substitute against the U.S. just like Haley Raso. And both those players getting the opportunity to come in and start. Gilnick for Caitlin Ford, and Raso coming in to replace Lisa Devanna. Those were the substitutions, but today they get the opportunity in the starting 11 for Australia. Nakasato, good turn there. Tanaka. Early ball cut out there by Lagarzo. And that one rolls out into the Australian bench and out for a throw for the Matildas. Not sure if maybe it was some early nerves or maybe the changes in personnel for Australia, but they certainly have recovered since going down 1-0 early in the game. They're on the front foot here, and it's Japan that are trying to respond. Into the space, Kerr. Could this be number 3? Puts it on her right foot. Big save! Sakiko Ikeda comes up big to at least keep it just a 1-goal margin right now. Really, it's the second time in the last few minutes we've seen that deep lying ball where the defenders are actually the ones to play it, bypassing the midfield and going all the way up top for Sam Kerr. Give her credit because she's timing her run just right to get into that space behind the Japanese back four. High pressure defending now from Australia, trying to make it difficult for Japan to get out of their own defensive third. They break the pressure initially, but there's Australia through Polkinghorne to win it right back. Good recovery. Van Egmond trying to swing it in. Maybe a little bit of a difficult ball there for Katrina Gorey, but let's go back to that save from Ikeda a moment ago. So there's the deep lying ball bypassing the midfield. Kerr times her run. One touch to prepare it for her right foot, but as she prepares it away from goal, that angle gets smaller and smaller. And I would never say it's an easy save there for Sakiko Ikeda, but she did really well to come out and cut the angle, make it difficult for Kerr to bury it into the far post. And again, it's a good save to keep it a 2-1 game. Kennedy wins the first ball outside the center circle. Nakajima, first to arrive there for Japan, and out for a throw in between the benches. Rin Sumida. Spraying it out to the far side. Razo slides over to defend for Australia. Foot race there. Kitagawa just trying to push it into space. Good ball inside, looking for Tanaka. And headed out by Australia. Steph Catley on the back post. And the captain for Australia just concedes the second corner of the afternoon for Japan. Majority of the time in the match against Brazil, because Japan did not have the height advantage in the game, they chose to play more of the short corner variety. As Yokoyama trots over to that far corner, let's see what she has. And again, it's the short corner here. Swung in on the secondary service over the head of Tanaka on the back post. And now maybe a chance for Australia to break on the counter. Good ball into space here. Catley tripped up. And a free kick coming for Australia. th minute of play, 2 Sam Kerr goals as the Matildas in front of Japan. Kennedy springing it wide here for Catley into the space. Kerr returns it back out wide for Lagarzo. And a turnover here in the final third for Japan. Nakasato. Not an easy clearance as the ball had a little bit of pace on it coming onto the left foot of Ikeda. The 24-year-old keeper had to do her best just to send it away, and sends it out on that far sideline for a throw for Australia. You just get the sense maybe Australia has a third in the cards before we hit halftime, working up a good lather, and they've been able to force some turnovers. 1, and number 2, been able to create some good attacking sequences, highlighted by Sam Kerr. Here's another one, force a turnover on cue. Kerr trying to hold on to it back out top. Wasn't exactly the shot, I think, that Katrina Gorey was looking for. Don't forget, this really the appetizer for you is the main entree coming your way later. We continue our coverage of the Tournament of Nations. USA, Brazil, ESPN2, 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight, right here from San Diego, California. Ian Dark, Julie Foudy on the call for that one. How does Jill Ellis and the U.S. Women's National Team bounce back, if you will, after losing 1-0 to this Australian national team up in Seattle? And of course, there is a lot of history in that rivalry between the U.S. and Brazil. Again, ESPN2, 8 p.m. Eastern time, coming up later today. Kennedy now from the back for Australia. Headed away by Nakajima. Here she is again, picking up the loose ball, trying to find the diagonal pass, and the run forward from Nakasato. I would imagine that over on the Australian bench, Alan Stacic is preaching patience for his club, his team, excuse me. And I say that because right there, Japan's allowing them to work the ball across the back. Go ahead and swing it across the back 2, 3, 4 times. Make Japan come after you. That one is knocked back. The best of pace, and Ikeda touches it away from pressure. That's the kind of touch right there from a goalkeeper that will give coaches gray hair. But again, to make the point about patience for Australia. Leading 2-1 into the final quarter of an hour of this opening half. You want Japan to come and pressure you. Make them force you into some sort of turnover. You don't need to just spring the ball after you work it across the back one time. Takagi plays it back away from the pressure. Catley stepping in. Now once Australia retrieve it, then they can get themselves all with a little bit of width, just out of the reach of Alana Kennedy. And that one will roll out for a Japanese throw. Kennedy, the 22-year-old, one of two players on this Australian team playing for Orlando Pride. Here's Van Egmond. She plays in Germany for Wolfsburg. Kerr immediately preps it with the right foot. Unfortunately for Japan, it was the teenage center back Nana Ichize that got in the way. Kennedy, you see the numbers so far for her in the NWSL season. Her team, though, not near the top of the rankings right now in the standings. Second corner of the match here for the Matildas. Emily Gilnick trots over into the near side corner to put it back in play. Actually haven't seen a ton of set pieces so far here in 33.5 minutes. What does Australia have drawn up? Right into the heart of the area. Punched away, but not out of danger yet. Chance to play it back out wide for Gilnick instead. It's Catley calling her own number. If you missed it, where you been? It started early for Japan. Great ball in, and Mina Tanaka tallied her first goal to make it 1-0, but it didn't last for long. About 5 minutes later, the Sam Kerr show began. She knocks that one in to make it 1-1, and shortly after that, stepping in on a miscue at the back for Japan, and a beautiful finish into the far post for her second goal of the game and her 10th of her international career. And that is where we stand with Australia in front 2-1. Is this another opportunity here for Kerr? Tries to go first time. Not a bad idea, but Ikeda was retreating the entire time to make sure she was not going to get chipped from just outside the 18-yard box. There's the numbers on Sam Kerr. 10 goals in 51 caps. So doing it for club and country for the 23-year-old forward for Australia. Kerr almost forcing the turnover right there. Japan able to step back on possession. Nakajima wide here for Tanaka. And a push off the ball from Steph Catley to give Japan the free kick in front of their bench. Haven't had to mention Katja Koroleva's name, our head referee, too much here in the first half, and that's always a good thing. No cards handed out so far through 35 minutes and change. Yokoyama, Nakajima, plenty of space on the far side if Japan can swing it over there. Instead, it's in onto the feet of Nakasato. She'll go with the left foot. Mackenzie Arnold in goal had to at least lay out a little bit to make sure that that one was going wide. Right idea here, just never had the bend on it, the left to right bend. Nakasato, one of 7 players on this Japanese roster that play for NTV Beleza. So a stroke of continuity under their coach Asako Takakura. Over the top and headed out for a throw for Australia. Into the final 10 minutes of this first half. And the Matildas have really put themselves in firm control of the match so far. Polkinghorn guides it across the midfield stripe. Overlapping run. Catley looking to swing it in. Excellent ball A big right paw into the air. I think there was a touch there from Sakiko Ikeda. Sometimes that's all you need as a goalkeeper, is just to change the flight of the ball and make it difficult for the attacking runs to get on the end of it. Trying to spring Gori, who was onside. The ball was played in behind her. And now it's Japan looking to break. Emi Nakajima. When Japan was at their best against Brazil, this is what they would do. Patience. You really wouldn't see passes of more than, say, 15 yards. They would play in close space with a lot of quick touches. And here, springing the run down the left-hand side for Kitagawa. Little push in the back. Katja Koroleva points to a goal kick here for Mackenzie Arnold in Australia. Careful right there if you're Emily Gilnick. Because Kitagawa was just hovering inside the 18. That's the last thing you want to do, is concede a penalty in the last few minutes of the half. Good first half between Japan and Australia, the two top teams in their federation. The Asian Football Confederation. Tanaka with the first goal to give Japan a lead. And Sam Kerr, she's got 2 so far, but she probably could have had more in this first half if she converted a couple of other chances. Don't worry, folks, she will have more. There's the ball intended for Kerr. Catley wins the first ball and heads it out. Forward in the direction of Tanaka. Couldn't find the first touch, but it falls into the feet of Sumida. This one over the top. Yokoyama. Polkinghorn slides over to defend, and that pass winds up onto the feet of Alana Kennedy. I made the mention that Kumi Yokoyama, I thought, was one of the most dangerous players for Japan against Brazil. She has been very quiet and anything but dangerous so far this afternoon here in Southern California. Hard tackle into the ankle of Steph Catley, and she is slow to get back up onto her feet. Actually surprised that Katja Koroleva, our referee, did not whistle this as a foul. Watch, studs up right there. You could even argue that that could be a yellow card. Leaving your feet with the studs up, but the Japanese captain, Emi Nakajima, was not whistled for the foul or shown a card on that sequence. And the 23-year-old defender, versatile defender too, I should add. She can play both as a wide position, as she is here today, but also in the center back spot. That's one of those ones probably where you're able to walk it off and continue playing now, but we'll see how she responds, not only coming out of the locker room, but obviously she'll be feeling that one tomorrow as well. About 4 minutes left in regulation here in this first half. Kerr tripped up and looking for a whistle. Japan play through it and look to attack against Australia. Now Moto. Sumida. Good little touches to feed it through for Yokoyama. Tanaka. Yokoyama. Nice little run in behind here from Kitagawa. You can just see so many yellow jerseys immediately surrounding the ball, but also getting into the passing lanes. The only space here for Japan is wide. What can they do with it from a wide position? Nakajima goes with the left foot, deflected. Second chance opportunity here for Japan, sent across the face of goal. Mackenzie Arnold was laying out on her right side. Here goes Sam Kerr. Can she get on the second ball? She does. Is it time for the hat trick? Sam Kerr, oh, a big save again, but the second chance and she'll get it. Why not throw in the flip? A first half hat trick for Sam Kerr. And it is now a 3-1 advantage for the Matildas. And look how she, not only does she continue with that first ball to make sure she got it, credit the save from Ikeda right there, but Kerr, after she misses the first chance, instead of putting her hands up in the air over her face thinking, oh, I should have finished it right here, she stays on her feet, and then it becomes an easy push pass with the inside of her foot into the back of her net. Great stuff from Kerr here in the first half. And you can almost sense it too for Australia. They know she's the hot hand, or probably in this case the hot foot right now, as they have consistently fed the ball up top to their number 20 to try and just let her do her thing. And she showed you a couple of different things in her bag of tricks. Three first half goals. And for Japan, that was the last thing they wanted to do, was concede not only a third to Kerr, but a third to Australia, period, just moments before they're set to hit the locker room. And a crucial moment right here, because now Australia is setting up for the free kick opportunity. Japan obviously can ill afford to concede a fourth here in this opening half. Kellen Knight with the left foot. Gilnick with the right foot. Bending it in, and it comes off the crossbar. Oh, what a strike from Emily Gilnick. Beautiful free kick. And only the crossbar keeps that out, because really Sakiko Ikeda was not really even close to it in terms of her footwork to get there, as well as getting up off of her feet to try and parry it up and over the top of the bar. High pressure here from Australia. Japan playing with fire, trying to play out of the back. Ball slips through. Here's Nakajima. All sorts of space opening up. Parried away by Arnold. Look at Kerr busting it all the way back there to help out defensively as well. It's those little things. It separates the good ones from great ones. 45 minutes gone. Go back to that free kick from Gilnick. I guess I should take it back what I said. Ikeda did get back to her line. And I think if that one is just underneath the bar, she probably is able to parry it up and over the top. Beautifully taken, good execution there from the 25-year-old Emily Gilnick. And the whistle from Katja Koroleva brings the first half to a close. Japanese national team got the dream start, but Sam Kerr with the dream first half. 3 goals from Kerr, goals number 9, 10, and 11 in her international career, and the Matildas are feeling pretty good. Why? They're taking a 3-1 lead into the locker room here at the half. Japan find themselves down a pair of goals heading into the second half. How will they respond? We're about to find out. Mark Rogandino back here with you. And as you would expect, remember, a little different than normal FIFA rules here in the Tournament of Nations. 6 substitutions allowed per nation in the match. And so I would expect that trailing by a couple of goals, Asako Takakura The Japanese head coach will be looking to the bench to see what some fresh legs might be a catalyst, a spark to get things going for Japan. Early attacking chance. Oh, that ball slid in behind. Good recovery there from Steph Catley. Remember, she took the knock in the ankle late in the first half, but didn't appear anywhere for the worse right there. Quickly on the throw now for Japan. Sumida. So 3 changes to get things going in the second half here for Japan. Utsugi coming in. Remember, she started in the central midfield for Japan. The Seattle Reign FC player. Hasegawa comes in to replace Naomoto in the midfield. And then Oya, who started an outside back spot, replaces Tagagi, who was also an outside back for Japan in the first half. Yokoyama spins at the penalty spot. Follow-up chance, but right into the gloves. A spill for the moment there for Mackenzie Arnold. And she pounces on it on the edge of her 6. I said it when Japan played to the 1-1 result with Brazil up in Seattle on Thursday, that the second half substitutes would certainly have an impact on the game, and they did exactly that. We'll see if Japan can pull from a similar book here this afternoon in Southern California. Sumida. Nakajima is battling for it there. Instead, it pops loose on to the feet of Kellon Knight. KK as her teammates call her. Up and over the top for Australia. Chise. And sent forward. Probably you would expect, in terms of impact on the substitutions, Rumi Utsugi, the most experienced of the 3 players that come in to begin the second half here. She'll pick up cap number 97 today. By the looks of things, it looks like she's going to play a little further across the back line rather than in her holding central defensive center midfield spot where she was against Brazil. Gori trying to spring the run of Sam Kerr. Already 3 goals in the first half. I wonder if she could have some sort of historic day in an Australian jersey today if she's able to continue what she did in the first half here in this second 45. Nakasato under some pressure. Kerr hovering right there on her back to make it difficult for the Japanese player to play it out. Polkinghorn trying to find Katrina Gori on the attacking run right at the top of the 18. Here is Gori. Van Egmond. And Yokoyama comes back to win it back here for Japan. Just underway here in the second half. Remember, both these teams will stay here in Southern California, just head about an hour and a half north to the home of the LA Galaxy, the StubHub Center in Carson, for their final game here in the inaugural edition of the Tournament of Nations. Utsugi steps in, right in for Yokoyama. Back inside, Sumida with a right foot. And really, in the end, it was no trouble at all for Mackenzie Arnold. A couple of steps wide of her goal. Don't forget, ESPN2 is the spot to be later on this evening. And coming up on Thursday as well, Tournament of Nations will continue. USA versus Japan. That will be the final match for both of those nations in the Tournament of Nations. Knocked out into the Australia bench and out for a throw for the Matildas. A couple of players warming up back behind the bench, so you get the sense that maybe Australia too planning to make a couple of changes. And there's Lisa Devanna. She was in the starting lineup for Australia in their first match against the US. And she brings that speed element, and if there's any sense of tired legs for a couple of Japanese players underneath the Southern California sun, certainly Devanna will be able to exploit it. Kitagawa to put it back in play. Other than the chance which Tanaka finished in the first half for Japan's lone goal on the day, she too has been quiet. Headed away. Hasegawa spins away from the pressure. Here is Hasegawa feeding it forward for Yokoyama. Just not really on the same page there, trying to combine on the 1-2, but both players running into the exact same space. Logarzo to win it. Kerr still battling here for Australia on the top of the area. Gori lets it fly from about 20 yards out. Japan scrambling to get numbers to defend. Intended for Kerr, flips it through onto the back post. Flag stays down. And Eggman took the extra touch to try and get into some open space and have a clean look on the Japanese goal. But that was just enough time to allow Japan to scramble back and get in front of the shot. Helter-skelter defending here from the Nadeshiko. Watch the combination play here. Kerr spinning onto her right foot. And it's Kitagawa who comes in with the saving tackle across the top of the 18. All right, mirror image of the free kick that we saw late in the first half, where Emily Gilnick rung the crossbar and almost made it 4-1 going into halftime. Now this into the second half, but the same near side setup. And it's going to be Elise Kellen Knight standing over it. Maybe slightly deeper on this one, but you would expect a ball right in between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot here. Drive it in a little bit, head high, shoulder high. Make it difficult for the goalkeeper to make a decision whether Ikeda comes out to play it or not. Perfect ball and into the gloves of Ikeda. A little bit of contact there at the very end. Glancing header took a little bit of steam off of the initial service, and that really made it easy for Sakiko Ikeda to come up with the save. You have to give credit in this tournament for Asako Takakura. She has played some really young players. I mean, you look at how they started across the back line, and right now you have Kitagawa and Ichize, 19 and 20 years old respectively, those two players. And obviously it's a results-driven business, so it makes it difficult. You can only imagine what some of the Japanese press might say if Japan comes here and they play these young lineups but maybe don't come away with wins. There's Ichise, the youngest player on the field for both teams, just 19 years old. She played really well in the game against Brazil, and coming out for a second straight start here for Japan. Well, maybe this will be a little bit of a spark. Yokoyama steps off, and the lone goal scorer in the 1-1 draw in their opening match, Yuka Momiki, will step on. It was a great back post header from a wide service, and Momiki headed it home with power to give Japan the lead Goal coming in the 63rd minute on Thursday. I'm actually a little surprised that it's Kumi Yokoyama who steps off, though. Quiet in terms of a contrast to how she played against Brazil. But she still, to me, in the limited time that I've seen her, seems like the type of player that you give her a couple of chances and she's probably going to make something happen. Here is the aforementioned Echize sending it for Momiki. Her first touch, a glancing header to flick it through into the space, but no one running onto it for Japan. Kerr, continuous pressure to get on the end of it. Now sends it into the heart of the area. It goes over the head. KK on the back post to set it back out top. And a good look there for Van Egmond. Just never got her knee over the top of the ball, and it skies over the crossbar. Just a couple of booths over from me in my broadcast position, Jill Ellis and the rest of her staff taking in Michelle French on the left side of your screen there, taking in the first half, or excuse me, second half. DJ Snow in there as well. Probably a little bit of scouting as they get ready for that game we showed you coming up with Japan. Up and over into the midfield. Here's Polkinghorn. Great execution to work the ball out from the back, up and over the top, looking for Lagarzo, and it hops into the gloves of Ikeda. Other than a little bit of action early in the first half, it's been really quiet on the afternoon for Mackenzie Arnold. Stepping in place of Lydia Williams in goal this afternoon for Australia. Polkinghorn. Tough ball there for Kerr to handle, and it pops loose for Nakajima. Japan has had flashes of where they can put together a sequence of touches, but really once they get about 25 yards out from the Australia goal, Australia has been able to get numbers back behind the ball and just make life difficult for Japan to break them down today. Possession clearly in favor, chances clearly in favor, and obviously goals, all of those categories in favor of Australia. Gawa dispossesses Yilnik. Van Egmond. Kerr. To play provider there and slip it through into the attacking run for Gori. Lofted onto the back post. This ball should stay in time for Lagarzo to run it down. Plenty of yellow jerseys inside the box. And headed away defensively by Japan. Momiki. Direct forward up top for the first half goal scorer, Tanaka. Nice little 1-2 to spring Tanaka down this near sideline. Can she play the ball in front? She does. An excellent ball, and Nakajima really almost a exact replica of what we saw and how Kerr scored her first goal, with Haley Razzo providing the service. All Nakajima needed to do was open the hip and redirect it into the back of the net. She was all by her lonesome inside the 6-yard box. First corner of the second half coming up here for Australia. That's the chance you've got to finish if you're Emi Nakajima. Great 1-2 to spring things down the left side. And Mina Tanaka again had a goal in the first half. And watch, this is perfectly put right here. All you have to do is put the inside of your right foot on it and put it on either side of Mackenzie Arnold, and it's a 3-2 game. I make it sound that simple, I know. But I think if you had a conversation with Nakajima, she would even tell you at this level, you're expected to finish those chances. Third corner on the afternoon here for Australia. Near post ball, glancing header. Ooh, hint of a handball inside the area that went unwhistled, and then Katya Koroleva did whistle it. There's no question it came off of the hand of Yui Hasegawa. And really right in the heart of the area. Initial ball one, and then watch. Yeah. You could argue maybe it's in a natural position because it's by her body. It's not as if she reached out to put hand to ball. It was more ball to hand, but still inside the area right there. Van Egmond had some chances, and she'll finish this one from the penalty spot. It's 4-1 Australia. Good reward for the 24-year-old central midfielder. She's been doing a ton of hard work and covering a ton of ground for the Matildas today. And on a day when she picks up her 63rd cap, yeah, I think that's a handball 9 times out of 10. And a point to the spot. And Van Egmond slots it home to the tune of her 15th international goal. So a additional goal scorer outside of Sam Kerr and Emily Van Egmond to get her name on the scoring summary. See how Japan react, because obviously at this point there has to be a sense of pride, especially since these two teams come from the same confederation, the AFC. First change of the afternoon for Australia as Caitlin Ford comes into the game to replace Chloe Lagarzo. Off and running here for Hasegawa, trying to play it inside the 18-yard box. But since the wake-up call and the early goal for Tanaka in Japan, defensively, Australia has just buttoned everything up. Deflected away. Headed away by Polkinghorn. Rin Sumida. Trying to spring that run down the far side for Nakajima. And it's actually kind of ironic. I mentioned that these are the top 2 teams from the Asian Football Confederation. It's Japan who actually in that federation is #1, and they are number 6 in the FIFA World Rankings. And 1 spot behind them in both categories are the Matildas of Australia. Even though, remember, as I told you in the first half, Australia kept Japan from going to the Summer Olympics a year ago. It was Australia who finished first in qualifying and went to the Olympic Games for the first time in a dozen years. Kennedy under no pressure across the back. And now Mackenzie Arnold. Japan fall back into their 4-4-2 shape to defend. I think if you're Australia, now that we're approaching the midway point of this second half, you're thinking about possession, you're thinking about staying clean and crisp. Not venturing outside the mold, not trying to do anything risky. Yeah, you would think maybe with a 3-goal lead, this is the time you can try things, but I think this is how you kill off a game and put yourself in the driver's seat in the inaugural edition of this Tournament of Nations. Jill Ellis and her U.S. women's national team will have an opportunity to put themselves right back in the conversation, though, later tonight against Brazil here at Qualcomm Stadium. Nakasato, Kitagawa, Tanaka under pressure. Kitagawa tracking there for Australia's Gilnick defensively. Japan break the pressure though. Now what can they do with it? Perfectly positioned. Steph Catley lofted in on the back post. 2 runners there, including Tanaka, who tries to head it down for Nakajima. And just out of the reach of Emily Gilnick. Second change of the day for Australia. And that will be it for Emily Gilnick. Some good work through 66.5 minutes, including a beautiful free kick that almost became the 4th goal of the first half for Australia. And the most capped player on the Australia roster, Lisa Devanna, will step in here. Cap number 123 on the day for Devanna. There you see the speed right there, closing speed to make it difficult for Kitagawa just to shepherd it out for a Japanese throw, and instead it ends up being a throw for Australia. Devanna, 32 years old, now playing down in the W League for South Melbourne. But US-based soccer fans will know her from time in WUSA, WPS. I mentioned the U.S. women's national team getting set for the match later tonight against Brazil, and the arrival just a short time ago. Yes, the crowd will fill in for sure here inside the queue. Megan Rapinoe. And the U.S. looking to get back on track after losing 1-0 to Australia in the opening game up in Seattle. And I say back on track with a little bit of air quotes around it, because yes, this is a tournament for them to discover things, for them to tune things up. Jill Ellis, in fact, told me she's getting an opportunity to look at some other players. It's the big picture, not so much narrowing the focus here. But of course, there'll be thousands of fans that show up here at Qualcomm Stadium expecting to see the red, white, and blue come away with a win. (4-1) here for Australia, and they have really, for the most part of this game, just been in complete control of Japan, keeping the confidence that they earned in that 1-0 win against the USA and taking it here this afternoon in San Diego. Just enough of a touch from Kennedy to step in the passing lane and win it back here for Australia. Pressure comes. Nakasato on the ball, but only for a moment. Gori. Japan sticking to their formula, though. Not, a giveaway here at the back. It's Momiki waiting for help to come from the far side. And the early ball from Nakajima to come back across looking for Tanaka. Never made its way all the way through. This one will make its way through, but nobody there on the back post. Kerr. Little push in the back from Rumi Utsugi. And a free kick here for Australia. 20 minutes to go in the second half. And that's some of the veteran leadership there from Utsugi. Just trying to encourage the rest of her teammates. Remember, it's a really young Japanese team to continue on. Utsugi wore the captain's band against Brazil, the 28-year-old, as I mentioned, who plays for Seattle Reign FC in NWSL. There she is, pushing it forward. Pops loose here for Katrina Gori. Devana. Kerr timing her run. And a corner here for Australia. Thought maybe her first touch was slightly too heavy and was going to get over the end line before Sam Kerr had a chance to serve it in. So here's Elise Kellen-Knight. Fourth corner on the match for the Matildas. Driven in toward the near post and headed away. Japan trying to quickly get themselves out of their own half. Great bending ball all the way across. Devana pulls it down at the edge of the 18. Little step over to create the window. In front, almost had Kerr making the darting run to the top of the 6-yard box, but it didn't get past the first defender. Australia gathering up for another wave of attack. A little bit of contact as Australia tried to play the ball out wide. A little chippy foul on the back of the ankles of Gori. Here's Momiki. I said that Australia have really just buttoned things up defensively, but it's come in all three levels of their formation. You see how hard the forwards are working right there to disrupt things. It's Devana stepping in right there as it deflects all the way back for Sakiko Ikeda. And that's really got to be a good sign for Australia, the fact that cohesively working from the back all the way up to the top. Van Egmond, she was the latest goal scorer, hitting one from the penalty spot about 10 minutes ago. Devana checking back to make sure her run was onside. Oya sliding over to defend now for Japan. Little in and out move from the veteran striker. And then well played defensively there from Ayumi Oya. Cut off the run of Lisa Devana. Watch as Devana tries to push hard toward the end line, and Oya just simply cuts that run off. The only way Devana is going to get to that ball is by going through the Japanese outside back. Emily Van Egmond set to step off. Solid performance today, including the latest goal for Australia. And Tamika Butt's going to come on. She was a starter against the U.S. and a massive goal in the 67th minute, the lone goal of that game, to turn what had been a 27-match winless run against the red, white, and blue into their first ever win against the U.S. More on the attack now here from Australia. Momiki checks back to pick up the loose ball. Lots of space here on that far side. Nakasato. Utsugi. Kitagawa trying to turn, but very tight space there against this near sideline. change coming here for the Matildas. Ellie Carpenter up in between the benches. And Haley Rosso, who delivered the first ball that led to Australia's first goal on the afternoon. The 22-year-old Portland Thorns midfielder, forward, will step off here. Kitagawa, Momiki, Hasagawa, back onto her right foot. Good ball in onto the back post. I think Mackenzie Arnold had a beat on it though. If she needed to put the gloves to it, certainly she could have. But instead, just letting it drift through and out for a goal kick for Australia. And also, there you see Steph Catley doing exactly what she needed to do defensively, getting goal side, making sure there's no chance for that run on the backside by Emi Nakajima to get to it. Into the space for Devana. She'll put it in first time, and just wide. Well, you can't blame her for trying first time. But she also had an option if she wanted to play that ball for Katrina Gorey, who was wide open on the right side of your screen. Didn't miss by much for Devana. But you know what? That's what strikers will do. I'm on here to finish my chances, so why not call my own number? Carpenter in now with her first touches since she stepped on a moment ago. Forward for Tanaka. Japan wins the argument and the throw. Little tangle up there between Tanaka and Ellie Carpenter. And we have our first booking of the afternoon. Watch the bottom of your screen right there as Carpenter comes in. There's no question that's a foul, but I think it's then when she kind of stands over the top of the player. Well, I think I've said it a couple of times with a few of these teams now, over these first two broadcasts, that many of these nations looking at depth, looking at the big picture as to what they have for the future, and that includes Madoka Haji, who just stepped on and will pick up her first ever cap at the senior national team level. See what kind of impact she can have on the game with about 12 minutes left. Good ball in onto the back post, goes just by Haji, who just stepped on. Now she'll try and step up the work rate to win it back defensively. Australia break the first initial pressure. That one rolls through for Devana. Make no mistake about it, there is impressions to be made for many of the players out there for Japan right now. Carpenter trying to step in, Utsugi. And wide here for Kitagawa. 80th minute here in San Diego. It was a 3-1 lead for Australia at the break. Emily Van Egmond adding one from the penalty spot in the 62nd minute. And it's been all Matildas here since about 5 minutes gone in the first half. Japan maybe caught them not quite focused from the opening whistle and took a 1-0 lead, but Australia has responded with 4 straight. Cleared up top in the direction of Kerr. Now the chance on the breakout. She's already got 3 goals on the afternoon. Devana trying to stay on side with a run right at the top of the 18. Instead, it's the overlapping run here for Gorey. Swings it back in onto the back post. Headed back across. And over the top of the goal, off of the head of Tamika Butt. Good build-up. You thought maybe the butt would look to head it back across goal. Excellent service from Gorey after that overlapping run. It would take something splendid from that distance to beat just about any keeper at this level. Kerr. Does she have 4 in the cards today? Uses her strength to win the first ball. Out in front. Kerr still with another opportunity. Dancing on the ball and into the gloves of Ikeda. I do have to say this. I love the fact that she's trying to be unselfish. Even though she's already put the ball in the back of the net 3 times today, she continues to work. Utsugi hovering at the edge of the 18 to pick it up for Japan. Maybe Kerr has a 4th here. Near post ball. Oh, and she made the right run and even got the contact to it, but it goes over the top of the Japanese goal. We're in the 82nd minute, folks, and she continues to work after a hat trick in the first half. It started in the 11th minute. Haley Rosso served it on a platter and she taps it home. Then closing down the space against the Japanese back 4. Opening the hip with the right-footed finish in the lower corner. And after a long ball from the back for Australia, Kerr uses her speed and strength. Couldn't get it the first time, but stuck with it. And the exclamation with the celebration for Sam Kerr with 3 goals in the first half. That hat trick, the first for Australia since March 2016 in Olympic qualifying. It was Kia Simon who had 3 against Vietnam. Simon, of course, not here with Australia right now, rehabbing an injury. Another substitution by my count. That should be the final one for Japan. Miho Manya coming in. What a day. You just have to love the fact that it's a good teaching moment for young players, male or female, watching at home. Kerr continuing to work despite the fact her team is in firm control. She just continues to work hard, and not just offensively to put the ball in the back of the net, but defensively she's tracked back several times. Devana uses her pace to get to the ball first. Lifts the chin, looking for some reinforcements. It'll come all the way across and out of play just before it gets onto the right foot of Caitlin Ford. Just the fact that she continued to work so hard all the way late into the second half, even after she had tallied her first career international hat trick. She had a hat trick for Sky Blue FC in a heroic come-from-behind win earlier in the season in NWSL. Having a career year for club and country for the 23-year-old who will sit on the sideline, iced up to watch the last few minutes of this one. Can Japan at this point, can they take something from these final few minutes? Can some of the substitutes that have come on here in the second half provide a little bit of spark that then head coach Asako Takakura can look at and say, even though we were down 4-1 in the game, this player continued to work. This player did not stop, because that will be rewarded with more minutes in future matches and possibly even coming up in their final game against the U.S. women's national team. Momiki immediately spins onto her right foot to play it in. Manya with the late back post run. And out for a goal kick now for Mackenzie Arnold and Australia. Aside from the an early save and then picking the ball out of the back of the net, it's been a really quiet day for Mackenzie Arnold. 29-year-old Australian keeper will just lump this one forward. Hasegawa. Will this be a corner? It will. First corner of the second half here for Japan. By the way, Princess Ibini stepping on here for Australia is another one of their second half substitutions. Yeah, there she is. Ibini with her second cap at the senior national team level. She's just 17 years old, folks. Here's Momiki to deliver the first corner of the second half. Never got past the first defender, and really routine to handle and clear on the initial service. Not out of danger yet, though. Japan still has some reinforcements hanging around in the box. Can the service get in there? No, but they will get another corner. Fourth of the match upcoming here. No hesitation to put it right back in play. Overlapping run here for Hasegawa. Arnold calls it, but that one was already out of play. Well, it was a dream start for Japan on the day, almost 2 hours ago. But as the old saying goes, not how you start, but how you finish. And Australia did exactly that. Highlighted by the first career international hat trick for Sam Kerr. Ibini pressuring the ball. Manya plays out from the back. Utsugi. So curious as to why Rumi Utsugi was not in the starting lineup. But maybe trying to keep her legs somewhat fresh for the finale here in the Tournament of Nations against the U.S. women's national team. Arnold, that's about the most difficult save she's had to make all day. Polkinghorn, she'll go the entire 90 minutes today after not seeing a minute against the U.S. women's national team on Thursday. Just out off the corner of the Australia bench. Alex Chidiac will replace Katrina Gorey. Chidiac, 18 years young, for her fourth cap at the senior national team level. Ibini trying to work hard, and she earns a throw deep in the Japanese half here for Australia. As we tick toward the final minute of regulation, I wouldn't imagine, with the score being what it is, Katja Koroleva is going to add a ton of added time to close out this second half. And as we hit the final minute, don't forget, you're going to want to head over to ESPN2, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Ian Dark and Julie Foudy on the call. USA, Brazil, right here live from San Diego inside Qualcomm Stadium. The temperatures will dip, and the stands should be full. Jill Ellis and her team always receive really good support when they come down here to the San Diego area. Receiving word 3 minutes minimum of stoppage time to close out this second half. Corner number 5 on the day for Australia. Can they put the exclamation point on it if they haven't already? Lofted all the way to the back post. And some contact there. It's Alana Kennedy who came in late. Again, a credit to Australia all the way till the final whistle. You got to think that comes down from their head coach, Alan Stacic. Kennedy had the one miscue early in the game that led to a one-on-one chance for Mina Tanaka that did not find the back of the net. But again, Tanaka would score literally within a minute after that on the ensuing sequence. But that was about the only bright spot on the day for Japan. Here is the aforementioned Tanaka in for Momiki. Cleared away by Elise Kellen-Knight. Ebini. Devana asking for it. She'll get it. Lets it slide across her body. Utsugi there to help defend. Polkinghorn steps in to win it with her head and cleared out into the Japanese bench. Good skill from Ebini. Rolls it across her body, back onto her right foot, sends it in. And Ikeda had a beat on it the entire time. One final surge for Japan. Tanaka. Good little heel pass. And it's into the back of the net, deflected on the way in. But a little bright spot to close things out for Japan nonetheless. Momiki, who scored against Brazil, was involved in the sequence once again. Here's Tanaka. One more look at it. You gotta like that from Tanaka. She's provides it on the back pass there. It was deflected on the way, and that made it difficult for Mackenzie Arnold to react. And you know, defensively, Alan Stachik will not be happy that they conceded a second here late in the second half. So Tanaka with a goal and really with an assist. That's merely cosmetic, yes, at this point. How about that? Momiki scored against Brazil as a second half substitute, and she scores here against Australia in this same role. In my mind, that gives you a starting nod against the U.S. women's national team in your final game of the tournament. There's the final whistle from Katja Koroleva. What a day for Sam Kerr and Australia after winning 1-0 with their first ever win on Thursday against the U.S. women's national team. They pick up that same momentum and take it here against their rival from the Asian Football Confederation to the tune of a 4-2 win, highlighted by the first career international hat trick for Sam Kerr.